15 Strongest Currencies in Africa 2023. African currency traditionally consisted of an interesting variety of items available in the locality, including salt, cowrie shells, beads, blankets, axes, arrowheads, iron, cattle, goats, and even people. In the early 19th century, a slave could be bought in West Africa with Manila currency. Multiples of X-shaped rings of bronze or other metal could be strung on a staff. The rudimentary mediums of exchange were gradually replaced by more acceptable and tradable currency. A national currency is a legal tender issued by a country's central bank or monetary authority. It is typically the predominant medium of exchange for purchasing goods and services. Currencies are defined by government, and each type has limited boundaries of acceptance. They are recognized as stores of value and are traded between nations in foreign exchange markets, which determine the relative values of the different currencies. US dollars, euros, Japanese yen, and pound sterling are examples of popular currencies. Let's take a look at the most valuable African currencies, starting from the top. 1. Tunisian Dinar. Symbol DT, code TND. $1 equates to 3.10 Tunisian dinar. With a dollar conversion rate of 3.10 dinars, the Tunisian dinar is currently the highest currency in Africa. The Tunisian dinar was launched in 1958, 2 years after Tunisia's independence from France, while the Tunisian franc was in force. After the franc's depreciation, the Tunisian dinar was pegged to the US dollar at a rate of 0.42 dinars to a dollar, which remained in place until 1971. Tunisia's historically low inflation rate has contributed to the rise of the Tunisian dinar over the years to the top of African currency rankings. From 2000 to 2010, it saw less volatility than Egypt and Morocco, two neighboring oil-based economies. To enhance its status as the most valuable currency in Africa, the Tunisian government declared it illegal to import, export, or convert dinars into another currency. 2. Libyan Dinar, code LYD. $1 equates 4.80 Libyan Dinar. At the 4.80 Libyan Dinar to the dollar, the Libyan Dinar is the second highest currency in Africa. The Libyan Dinar replaced the Libyan Pound in 1971 when Muammar Gaddafi deposed King Idris in a coup and was minted at the same value as the Libyan Pound. The Central Bank of Libya is responsible for manufacturing, issuing and controlling the currency, which consists of 1,000 dirhams per dinar. Although it remains one of the strongest currencies in Africa, the Libyan dinar has progressively depreciated against major currencies like the US dollar, the British pound, and the euro over the years. The continued slump in value may be traced to various factors, with the decline in oil prices on international markets being the most significant. Since oil sales are Libya's primary source of income, the waning global dependence on oil has had a detrimental effect on the dinar. 3. Moroccan Dirham, code MAD, symbol DH. $1 equates 10.34 Moroccan dirhams. The Moroccan dirham, the primary unit of legal tender in Morocco, is the third highest currency in Africa. It cannot be traded outside the nation and is virtually immune to bank-influenced price swings. In the Western Sahara area, the Moroccan dirham is the de facto medium of exchange, and although it remains unregulated, its export is prohibited by law. The dirham was implemented on October 17, 1959, under the administration of Abdallah Ibrahim after the founding of Bank al-Maghrib and the elimination of the Moroccan franc, which had been in use since 1921. Since its inception, the Moroccan dirham has been one of the strongest currencies in Africa. 4. Ghanaian City, symbol GHC. $1 is equal to 12.75 Ghanaian cedis. The Ghana Cedi, the fourth historical legal currency of the Republic of Ghana, is the most valuable currency in West Africa. Also the fourth highest currency in Africa, the Ghana Cedi was put into use in 2007, following years of inflation-induced depreciation. According to a Bloomberg research, the Ghana Cedi was the best performing currency in the world versus the dollar in 2020. The US agency reported that the Ghanaian City increased by 3.9%, the greatest rise among the more than 140 legal tenders monitored, making it one of the strongest currencies in Africa. The Ghanaian currency declined by 54.2% versus the US dollar during the first 11 months of 2022, according to economic and financial statistics released by the Central Bank of Ghana in November. This made the cedi the worst performing currency in the world, ahead of Sri Lankan rupee, which lost 45% of its value versus the US dollar. During the period under consideration, the Ghanaian currency likewise lost 48.9% and 50% of its value relative to the pound sterling and the euro respectively. As a consequence, the Ghanaian cedi fell from 3rd to 5th on this ranking of Africa's most valuable currencies. This predicament is mostly the result of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has caused an increase in import costs and therefore a larger outflow of foreign currency. In addition to the stifling inflation, the situation forces Ghana to spend much more foreign currency to honor its obligations to international creditors. Government expenditure initiatives and employment development have helped maintain the currency's strength, and the Ghana cedi is more valuable to Ghana, having the highest GDP per capita in West Africa. 5. Seychelles Rupee, code SCR, symbol SR. $1 is equal to 12.91 Seychelles rupees. Seychelles rupee is also the strongest currency in East Africa as a result of Seychelles' market economy. Foreign investment as well as the bloom of agriculture, fisheries and small-scale industries has led to the growth of the country's economy. This has contributed to the diversification of Seychelles' GDP. The fact that Seychelles has the largest GDP per capita in Africa has also contributed to the Seychelles rupee's ranking as one of the strongest currencies in Africa. Another factor behind the high value of the Seychelles rupee is that Seychelles is the smallest nation with an independent monetary policy. 6. Sao Tomei and Principe Dobra. The Democratic Republic of Sao Tomei and Principe, also known in English as St. Thomas and Prince, is an island country in the Gulf of Guinea. Virtually uninhabited until the discovery by Portuguese explorers in the 15th century, the islands collectively served as a vital commercial and trade center for the Atlantic slave trade. The name derives from Portuguese dobra, meaning doublon. One Sao Tomé and Principe dobra equates $0.046, currency code STD. 7. Eritrean Nakfa, code ERN, symbol NFK. $1 is equal to 15 NFK. The Eritrean Nafka ranks 7th amongst the highest currencies in Africa and is Eritrea's official legal tender. The Nafka has experienced stability throughout the years as a result of the Eritrean government's preference for a fixed exchange rate versus a floating currency. 8. Zambian Kwacha, code ZMW, symbol ZK. $1 is equal to 19.5 Zambian Kwacha. The Zambian Kwacha, or ZMW, issued by the Bank of Zambia as the country's official legal tender, is the 8th highest currency in Africa. Despite being one of the strongest in Africa, the Zambian Kwacha is not often traded by currency speculators due to its susceptibility to inflation and instability over time. Zambia is the biggest copper producer in Africa, hence its currency is prone to erraticism based on the fluctuation of commodity prices in the global copper market. The Kwacha replaced the pound in 1968 after Zambia's independence from the United Kingdom. The Zambian Kwacha's difficult to control inflation rate has contributed to the plight of many Zambians, but has not stopped it from becoming one of Africa's most valuable currencies. 9. South African Rand, code ZAR, symbol R. $1 is equal to 18.11 ZAR. Launched in February 1961, the South African Rand is the 9th highest currency in Africa, which until the end of apartheid had a relatively steady exchange rate with the US dollar. Since then, its value has depreciated as the South African economy has grown more integrated with the global economy. Several nations in the area, including Lesotho, Namibia and Swaziland, pegged their currencies to the South African rand, which can only strengthen its position as one of the strongest currencies in Africa. In essence, the South African rand's value is related to the price of gold, South Africa's primary export in its early years. The rand, however, remains at the mercy of global uncertainty owing to South Africa's frail economy and unstable political scene. Number 10. Egyptian Pound. Code EGP. Symbol EE. $1 is equal to 30.56 Egyptian pounds. The Egyptian pound, denoted by this sign, is the 10th highest currency in Africa and the official currency of the Arab Republic of Egypt. Initially backed by previous metals, the Central Bank of Egypt started a managed float in 2001 before switching to a float in 2016. Before the float, $1 was equivalent to 8.8 Egyptian pounds, but rose to about 15 Egyptian pounds per dollar after undocking. The Egyptian pound, used as an unofficial currency in Sudan and the Gaza Strip, solidifies its status as one of Africa's strongest currencies. In reaction to the detrimental COVID-19 lockdown measures of 2020, Egypt reduced interest rates to stabilize the currency. However, the nation continues to have one of the highest real interest rates in the world, which has aided in the scale of treasuries and the protection of currency, but discouraged borrowing. The Egyptian pound is also one of the most valuable currencies in Africa because Egypt has the second highest nominal GDP on the continent, behind only Nigeria. Both the Namibian dollar and the Lesotho loti are more valuable than the Egyptian pound at 18.03 to the dollar. However, the two currencies are pegged to the South African rand. This mechanism maintains a steady exchange rate between the three nations and ensures that the cost of products remain the same across the three currencies, regardless of numerous economic events that may occur. While currency linking is not a factor for this ranking, both currencies were excluded since they are pegged to a continental rather than an intercontinental currency. 11. Botswana Pula. Currency name Pula. Code BWP. Current exchange rate $1 equates 12.64 pulas. The pula comes in at number 11 on our list of the highest currencies in Africa. The currency of Botswana is pegged to the South African rand. Botswana is located in southern Africa with a stable democracy and strong economy. The pula has been with Botswana for more than 45 years since its independence from Britain. I wonder what gave the name. 12. Sudanese Pound. The Sudanese Pound is issued by the Central Bank of Sudan. Its value is linked to gold and convertible into foreign currencies. There are no restrictions on money transfers to and from Sudan. It has been pegged to the United States dollar since around 1984. One Sudanese pound is equal to $0.018 US. Currency code is SDP. 13. SZL. Swaziland Lilangeni. Swaziland was officially renamed Eswatini in 2018. Prior to this, the Monetary Authority of Swaziland introduced the Lilangeni to replace the South African rand at par in 1974. The two currencies have remained pegged at par since replacement. The establishment of the Rand Monetary Area in 1974 allowed Swaziland, Botswana and Lesotho to issue currencies unique to their nations. Before the agreement, Swaziland participated in an informal arrangement among the same countries. Under the previous provision, only the South African currency circulated in the region. Through the agreement, the South African rand remained legal tender in all member nations and circulated alongside national money of the member nations. Botswana withdrew from the agreement in 1975. One Eswatini Lilangeni is subdivided into 100 cents and issued by the Central Bank of Eswatini. Foreign exchange markets abbreviate the currency as SZL. The SZL is pegged to the South African rand. One Eswatini Lilangeni is equal to roughly $0.06 US. 14. Mauritian Rupee. The British captured Mauritius in the early 19th century and the pound sterling became its official currency. It was replaced by the then popular Indian Rupee in 1876, which eventually gave way to the Mauritian Rupee. Mauritius and Seychelles are the only two African countries that use rupee as their official currency unit. 1 Mauritian Rupee equals 100 cents. 1 Mauritian Rupee is equal to $0.025 US. Currency code MUR. 15. Ethiopian Beer. The beer was known as the Ethiopian dollar prior to 1976. Before that, up to 1931, it was called the Abyssinian Beer. Abyssinia was the former name of Ethiopia. 186 billion beer were in circulation in 2008, equating $14.7 billion or 9.97 billion euro. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Maria Theresa thalers and blocks of salt called amole chu served as currency in Ethiopia. The thaler was known locally as the beer, literally meaning silver in Ge'ez and Amharic, or talari. 1 Ethiopian beer is equal to $0.029 US, with a currency code ETB. Did you know Tunisian Dinar is the most valuable currency in Africa? Now you do. Please let us know where you're watching us from, and remember to subscribe to this video so you won't miss out on any of our subsequent videos. Thanks for watching.